Welcome to Dr. G at the Heart of Healthcare. I have a friend of the hospice industry, Ramon Sanchez, the founder and CEO of HospiceWorks and EMR, EHR, whatever you want to call it, that is supposed to make our lives better. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So good to finally chat with you and hear about this platform. Um, as the listeners may know, I was on the podcast Elevate with Hospice News editor Jim Parker, and he asked me, what are some things we can do to help, with the plan of cares and making things more efficient and meeting our regulatory guidelines and things of that nature. And my thing I just kept going back to is the EMR. So we'll get into that. But I first just want to see what's up. So tell us about your background and how you got into this industry.
Well, my background is actually very somewhat unique to a certain degree. I'm not from the healthcare world originally. I'm actually from the completely different world, from the mortgage and real estate world. So I've my company was primarily in Southern California, and out of chance, I heard about hospice, and I heard about a meeting that a friend of mine was having with a doctor that was going to open up a hospice, and I was invited just to kind of be a fly on the wall. And I never had the idea of actually getting into hospice, but it was more just to be there, maybe get some information. I left the meeting, and it really touched me because I never knew about hospice, and this is in 2005. I had no idea it was a benefit. I left the meeting thinking, this is something that's needed. It's something that's important, specifically for the Hispanic type culture. We didn't know about hospice. My grandmother had passed years before. She should have been on hospice at that time, in my opinion, but we just didn't know the benefit was even around. So because of that, it kind of it really it well it just it clicked. I need to get into hospice. So I started my first hospice in 2005. Took us about a year plus to go through getting Medicare certified and what have you, and had that hospice. I ended up selling that hospice and got involved with another group with a hospice in San Diego. They're actually still doing fantastic. They've grown. They've had tremendous success. But I just the hospice part of it was initially something that I was very interested in. And in my time with the San Diego team, I really decided to kind of veer into the technology end of hospice. So that's kind of what brought me into where I am today with HospiceWorks. Initially, as I was with a hospice software EMR worked with them. Didn't work for them, but I kind of worked somewhat of a relationship with them for many years, and that led to where I am today, where we decided to open up HospiceWorks, and with the idea of solving a lot of the problems that we were hearing from our own users. For me, even being in the industry, listening to our team, listening to our staff. So, that's what created the idea with HospiceWorks. And by the way, I loved your show. And it was awesome to hear you and Jim talk about all the things that are needed in hospice, and all of those things go back to, well, at least some of the compliance items. All those things kind of brought everything back to the EMR to a certain degree. We're kind of EMRs are, in my opinion, have been slowing the process down instead of helping the process. So that's what we're bringing with HospiceWorks. We designed the platform that doesn't do that. Our platform does completely the opposite. And as I said, I loved your podcast because everything that you talked about in it was like, that is bam, that's exactly what we knew the market needed, and it's here. So
Awesome. Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I first of all just appreciate you for being a leader, a businessman there. We need leaders who listen, to the clinicians, and, no one needs to be ashamed about owning a hospice. I know there's lots of debates between the for-profit and not-for-profit hospices and all that stuff. We're not getting into that. We are talking about the pure healthcare that people need in their families. Like you shared about your grandma, and thank you for sharing that. You know, I know we're here to talk about technology, but that's an important thing. A heart matter. And I find just in my personal work, I go to all kind of cultures, homes, black, white, brown, everything in between. And, the Latino slash Hispanic, whatever, however you self-identify culture really does a good job taking care of their loved ones and shift work and all that stuff. Like, you guys do good. And so, I know you said she needed hospice, but I'm sure you guys did a wonderful job taking care of her at home.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
we most definitely did, but it would have been good to know that that was a benefit,
Hmm.
at the time. This was years before I even
Yeah.
had my
Of course.
business and what have you, but it would have been nice to know that that benefit existed, that we could have had more support, that we could
Yeah.
have had the wonderful thing that hospice brings, and we just
Hmm.
didn't know about it. And I'm glad that's changed today.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of us out here trying to do what we can to bridge that, communication gap, the information gap, I should say, where we're not getting the information there. I'm doing what I can, for the Black community. There's, Black Americans are not utilizing the hospice benefit. And if I spoke Spanish, I would translate my book into Spanish. You know what I mean? Because we need to do what we can. So anyway, thank you for sharing that. So I want to get back to the technology, and first of all, appreciate you creating that demo for me. I kind of want to tag that onto this video. Ramon created a demo just kind of showing me the user friendliness of HospiceWorks. And the first thing that I was impressed by is you didn't have to click a lot. It was so clean, it was so seamless. And there's something that doctors say, death by clicks,
Yeah.
all the clicking you have to do one task. And I noticed that everything was like right there. And so, how did you, as a non clinician, figure out what was needed to put in this EMR to help clinicians? Like that's the $1 million question here.
Well, I have to say that I listened, and being that I'm not a clinician, I'm the what you saw was a lot of time spent listening, a lot of time spent analyzing and looking at even products that are out there, that were out there already before we even came out. So because I was involved with an EMR, I had a pretty good idea of what was in the market and what was missing. And unfortunately, there's a lot of older legacy systems that are still out there right now that have not made some changes. So when we decided to start the project and to start with HospiceWorks, we came at this project from a completely different view. We weren't going to build something that was already out there. We were going to build something that was going to bring today's technology into a product that people could use. And you said it, the whole click thing, it drives me crazy. I think it's part of it is I don't have any patience. I want things as much as we can to be there now. So our architecture and the way we manage data and brilliant developers and a brilliant team has made our vision into reality. And that video I sent you 5 minutes, you saw what it can do. It has
I
literally
didn't.
all of it there. You don't even have to leave that screen. And even when you go into our order process, it's all there as well. So you're capable of making any update, really working from not having to go back and forth and all these different things. We wanted the team to really focus on the patient, focus on seeing all the data, having everything there, so that way they could get through that patient and not get burned out and go to the next one. And so that's really what you see in the entire system is that kind of structure where we don't want clicks. We want to have as much data right in front of the clinician or whoever is actually looking at the record. to have that access to all that.
Yeah. Well, you all did a good job with it, having that intuition for busy healthcare workers, not just nurses and doctors, the chaplains, the hospice aides, everyone has to do documentation. And I've seen with teams, you have our nurses driving up and down the streets, the chaplain having to be at every single, you know, admission and then go to the next one because a death happens, and then having to then go home, after picking up their kids and document for hours. That shouldn't happen. That has to change now. We've lost so many healthcare workers from the pandemic. I know a lot of people like you moved out of the state of California, but a lot of people left healthcare because it's just burnout. I'm gonna have to say, even though I'm an expert at self care, that doesn't cure my burnout. I kind of function in chronically, and so we have to do something about this, creating solutions. So I thank you for that. So what I like how it took, all the information from a visit and turned
Yes.
it right into the interdisciplinary group note.
Yes.
Listeners, if you are not a healthcare worker and you're just wondering about hospice care, we meet minimum every 14, 15 days to go over the plan of care for that patient. That's what hospice is. We're not just coming there, dropping off beds and oxygen tanks and then leaving. We actually have a plan of care for every body system, for everything, to make sure that we're meeting the goals of care for the person who has a terminal condition and the family. We take care of patients and families in hospice care. And so that thing is updated whenever it needs to be, but for sure every 2 weeks or every week for some hospices if you have a large census. So that was really, really well done. So what would you say if you were able to pitch this? I know I'm going to be helping with Hospice Action Week, and I want to bring up the EMR burdens when I go. What would you say if I went and pitched this to someone?
Well, I would say that HospiceWorks is designed to manage the flow of the way a clinician does their job. It's designed to provide all the data when you need it, and it's available there for you. We have our workflows, our documents are very simple to navigate. If you're going to have someone that is going to jump on a new product, and the old idea is that, wow, it's going to take me a long time for me to learn it. And there's just so many different pieces. That's not HospiceWorks. HospiceWorks is designed, it's right in front of you. Things are where they should be, where we feel they should be, and where our data is telling us that they should be. And all the data will flow. Other things that we put into HospiceWorks to help clinicians as well is that we're the only product that I'm aware of as of right now that has its own built-in HIPAA compliant speech recognition, AI powered speech recognition. So that's built into HospiceWorks. I know there's other systems, there's great products that use other vendors for the speech recognition, but with HospiceWorks, it's included. You don't have to pay anything extra. It's part of our system. And so we try to include everything in our product. So there's not a lot of extras. And it's a simple design that does things. It looks simple, it's all there, but it does a lot of complicated things on the back end. So if maybe that's a little bit a long explanation of why someone should use us, but
I got it.
it's not a simple answer, but yes, that's basically what we provide.
It's user friendly for the people who actually use it. That's what I
Yes.
heard. And to know that I could have an iPad, well, to family homes, like go in there, a visitor to them and kind of take notes in my mind. But to know that I could just go straight to the car, pull that thing out and talk my note into it and be done, that is a miracle. And that's what the nurses deserve because, again, I'm down here in San Diego and we have this traffic down here. So imagine if instead of this nurse having to fight traffic and deal with all that, this nurse, him or her, can dictate their notes while they drive home and then enjoy their family because that's what we deserve too, right?
Yes.
So that's great. I love the name too. It's like Hospice Works and Hospice Works. Like,
Yes.
did you catch that? Hospice does work. And so I'm so grateful that you created this for the industry to improve healthcare and patient care overall. And I just thank you for being here. So if you have any last words, we'll wrap up with that, Ramon.
Actually, I do, and this is where I believe the industry is headed into. We're right now we're in development and we're also in testing for AI QA that will be coming into HospiceWorks that will add a whole other element of compliance, even a document assist feature that will help. We don't have the time to kind of go over that. That's probably a whole other show if you decide to have me back on again so we can talk about how that's going to work. But that's an awesome thing that's coming. And it's not coming in 6 months. It's coming, it's literally in process now. So we're excited. I think we're not only going to make things better for clinicians, make it easier for them, but for the hospice companies, the owners, management, we're going to bring serious compliance, serious QA, instant things. The power of AI is going to be in HospiceWorks. So you most definitely want to check us out soon.
Awesome. Well, I will have a link to your website in the show notes because Hospice Works is the valuable resource of the day. And I will also have a link to your LinkedIn in case people want to network with you and get to know you better. So thank you for being a part of Dr. G at the Heart of Healthcare.
Thank you once again for having me. Thanks again.
Uh, you're welcome. Peace, everyone.